Hey everyone, thank you so much for stopping by today's video. If you are new, I hope you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can come back again and watch my upcoming videos that I'm going to be having soon. But today is finally going to be my review on the Smashbox 15 Hour Wear Studio Skin Foundation, as you guys can see by the title. I've had this foundation for like a month now and I'm just now getting around to reviewing it for you guys, but that just means my review is going to be a lot more thorough and I'm going to be a lot more accurate about what I say about this foundation because I have been trying it out for a super duper long time. So I am going to be talking about the claims of this foundation, what the company says about it, and how I feel about those claims and whether they actually work for my skin type or not. I'm going to be showing you guys a demo of the foundation and then I'm going to come back and tell you guys if I think this foundation is worth investing your money in. So if you are interested in seeing all of that, then just keep on watching. So first things first, this is what the actual packaging looks like of the foundation. So it just says Smashbox Studio Skin 15 Hour Wear Hydrating Foundation, oil free. When you open it up, you just get a little sample of the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer, the original, and I highly recommend this primer. It is like one of my favorites and it's a really good primer. It has a silicone feel, so if you don't like the silicone texture, then you probably wouldn't like this foundation, but it is a really good one. So this is what the actual foundation bottle looks like. So it is a glass bottle. It's 1 fluid ounce like standard foundation, and then it has a nice pump, which is always a good thing. So this foundation retails for $42 and you can get it anywhere that they sell Smashbox. So Nordstrom, Sephora, and Ulta, I believe. I actually picked mine up from Ulta and this foundation retails for $42, so you know, about the standard price for a more higher end foundation. And I don't think they actually revamped the formula of this foundation because this isn't new. This has been out already, but I think what they did was they introduced a couple more shades to the range and expanded it. So now instead of just a couple of shades, they have about 22 to 24 different shades of this. So I got one of the new shades. I am 4.05 for reference, and I think it's a nice color match for my skin tone. So I'm just going to read what it says on the Ulta website about the foundation, and then we're going to get into the claims that Smashbox actually makes about this foundation. So it says, this hydrating foundation was created in Smashbox LA Photo Studio to look and feel amazing for 15 hours from the set to the street. Because really, who has time for touch-ups? I know, right? What it does: medium to full buildable coverage, oil-free hydrating formula without the shine, light diffusing spheres, blur imperfections, sweat-proof, transfer-proof, and exercise-resistant, color-true and color-consistent, color-true and transfer-resistant, and demi-matte finish. Okay. So now let's talk about the foundation a little bit. So it says it's a 15-hour wear foundation. I definitely think that this foundation is a 15-hour wear, long wear foundation, because I actually have worn this foundation for up to 13 hours and it still looked good on my skin. It held up well on my skin. It wasn't patchy or splotchy. It wasn't breaking down around my face and around my nose, which is typically where foundations start to break up first. And it stayed on my skin really nice, and I didn't have to worry about it looking extremely horrible by the end of the day, by the end of the 13 hours. It still looked nice and fresh on my skin. I did have to blot during the time that I was wearing it, but it wasn't like super oily disastrous mess. You know, I just blot like a couple of times. I took 2 blotting sheets and I blotted my skin, and then I was good for the rest of the hours that I was wearing it. So I do think it's a long wearing foundation, and if you have less oily skin than me, then I think that you can get away with wearing this foundation for up to 15 hours. Me, I have super oily skin, just for reference, and that means I'm oily all over. So in my T-zone, on top of my eyebrows, under my eyes, on my cheeks, my chin, my jaw, like I am oily everywhere. So just so you guys know. And then this is also considered a hydrating foundation. For me, I don't think this foundation is hydrating at all, which is actually a pro more than it is a con. If you're going into this foundation for the hydrating factor, I'm not necessarily sure if you're going to actually get that, because to me this foundation actually feels more mattifying than it does hydrating for my oily skin, and I think that that's actually a good thing. So it feels like when I put this foundation on and it sets to my skin, it sets to a matte finish, and so the hydrating factor is not a big deal for me. But if you're actually looking into that part of this foundation, I don't think you're going to get that. So medium to full buildable coverage. This is the only claim that I have a problem with. I don't think this foundation is medium to full at all. If anything, this foundation is more on the heavier side of light to me. It doesn't have the greatest coverage at all, but for me that's not necessarily a problem, because although I do like medium to full coverage foundations, I don't necessarily need them. I do have little spots that I need to cover up, but if I really wanted to cover them up, I could just color correct before I go in with my foundation, so that's not a big deal to me. But if you have more pigmentation or acne scarring or something like that, then you might find this foundation's coverage to be a problem for you. It's definitely not medium to full coverage, and I'm pretty sure if you watch any other reviews on this foundation, the other people will say the same thing, that it's not really medium to full. It's like more on the lighter side of medium, heavier side of light. As far as it being oil free and controlling oils all day, I do feel that this foundation is oil free and it controls my oils all day. Again, like I said, I only had to blot like once when I wore this foundation for about 13 hours. I just took my 2 sheets, I blotted my face, and that was it. I was good to go. And I don't get any more oily with this foundation than I do with any of my other mattifying foundations or long wearing foundations. So I do think that it's definitely oil free and it helps to control my oils all day so I don't look like a greasy mess. As far as being sweat, humidity, and exercise resistant, I haven't actually exercised in this foundation, but I do wear it to work, and I am in the Army and I work outside a lot, so I am sweating a lot when I wear my makeup most of the time. So yes, I will definitely say that this is exercise, sweat, and humidity resistant. I remember there was one time I was sweating and the beads of sweat was rolling down the side of my face, and typically when I sweat in a foundation that's not long wearing or not transfer resistant or anything like that, my sweat will be the color of the foundation because it's actually taking off the foundation. With this one, it wasn't. Like, the foundation was staying in place and I was just sweating, and when I went to go and wipe my face, like just tap the little sweat beads, I did not have a ton of foundation on my hand. And with other foundations, if the sweat drips off of my face and falls onto my uniform, typically the sweat is the color of my foundation, and I have little foundation stains on my uniform. With this foundation, I do not get that at all. And also, I like to blend my foundation down to my neck, so if I like scrape my neck against my uniform shirt, I'll typically have like a little foundation ring on my shirt, and I don't get that with this foundation. So I would definitely say that it's transfer proof or transfer resistant, not transfer proof, but I would definitely say it's transfer resistant, it's sweat resistant, humidity resistant, and exercise resistant. So as far as it having a demi matte finish, I think that this foundation is more of a matte finish, which again is another pro instead of a con. As soon as I put this foundation on, I don't see any shine at all. It looks natural, but you can tell that it is a more mattifying foundation. I mean, it sits on my skin really nice, and it just looks nice and matte and even on my skin. You guys will see in the demo. So I mean, they can say demi matte, I just say it's a matte finish and it looks great on my skin. So yeah, I mean, all of the claims, other than it being hydrating and other than it having medium to full coverage, everything else is spot on. They really hit the nail on the head with this foundation, and I have been enjoying it a lot. So now we're just going to get into the demo, and I'm going to show you how it looks on my skin, and then I'm going to come back and tell you guys if you should invest your money in this foundation. So for moisturizer today, I used the Too Faced Hangover Rx Primer, and this is a sample that I got in my Ipsy bag. And because this is more of a hydrating type primer or product, I like to use this just as my moisturizer and not as an actual primer. Then for primer today, I use my Benefit Porefessional Matte Rescue Mattifying Gel, as well as the Benefit Porefessional Face Primer. And you guys know, if you watch my videos all the time, that these are like 2 of my favorite primers. I use them all the time in my makeup tutorials, and I know that they look really good with this foundation. So now I'm going to go in and apply the foundation. Again, I have the shade 4.05. This is what it looks like. How I've been liking to apply my foundations lately, I like to use a brush like this. Any type of flat top brush that you can stipple your foundation on with will work. And then I like to go in, after it's all applied over my face, I like to go in with a beauty blender and really like pat it into my skin. So that is what we're going to be doing today. I take 3 pumps of this foundation, and then I just start applying it. And I start from the middle of my face and then work the foundation out towards the outside of my face. And again, I'm really just pressing this foundation into my skin. I'm not actually like smearing it around. And I hope you guys are seeing like how well it spreads out over my skin. So again, like I said, I like to just go in with my beauty blender, and I like to just stipple it over my face as well, just to make sure like it's a really natural finish. So this is just one layer, and this is what the foundation looks like on my skin. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more so you guys can actually see how it looks like on my skin. So up close now, you guys can see like my texture, and you guys can see my pores, and you guys can see what needed to be covered, what didn't cover or didn't get covered, and things like that. You can see how it looks like on my forehead. In all honesty, I mean, I just think this foundation looks very skin-like and very natural. And I feel like if you go in to build it up too much, it'll start to look cakey. So this is how it looks. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the demo up close, how the foundation looks on my skin and how it wears on my skin as soon as I put it on. I think it looks very nice when I put it on, and then it actually goes well with all of the products that I put on top of it. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that. And as far as how I feel about this foundation and whether you should invest your money in it, I love this foundation, and I've been loving this foundation since I first picked it up. I definitely think it's worth investing in, especially if you have anywhere from oily to super oily skin. I think this is great. Don't let the hydrating factor of this foundation deter you away from getting it, because it's not hydrating at all to me. And then for you normal to dry girls, I don't really know if you guys are going to get any benefits from this foundation, because if you're dry, I know you would want more of a hydrating foundation, and then if you're normal, you might still want more of a dewy finish foundation, and this is definitely not going to give that to you at all. So I don't know if you guys would benefit from this foundation, but definitely if you have oily skin, this is a good one to look into. It's worth the $42, and then the shade range, I'm sure you'll be able to find something, you know, for your skin tone and for your undertone, and you probably will enjoy this foundation. It'll probably move its way up to your top foundations like it has moved up in my collection. So yeah, that's how I feel about this foundation, and I hope you guys enjoyed my review on it. I hope you found this helpful, and thank you so much for watching as always, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.